So welcome to the first episode of Coffee Pixel. It's a new series. In this series, we'll be talking to other artists on what it's like to be an artist and the trials and the errors that we go through as artists, just to give people a better look, a more in-depth look at what we do behind this computer, this digital world. I am joined by Kofi Ofosu. Is that how you say it?
Kofi Ofosu.
Yeah, and then better known as Braku Star on Instagram. It's great to have you here, man. I've been following your art for a while, and just admiring from afar, just checking out the stuff that you're doing, getting inspired by every other artist on here. I reached out and you graciously accepted this interview, which is awesome.
Sure.
So we're just gonna get into it and just give you guys the gist of what it's like to be artists and give you a more in-depth look on what we do and how we do it. So the first question I have is, what inspired you to get into art? What was your first initial like you got the bug, you have to draw?
I think it has to do with the animations I'd watch when I'd come back from school. Like those times, I'd come back from school and my mom would make me like a bowl of cereal or get me some food, and then I'll sit in front of the computer in the hall. No, in front of the TV in the hall, and I'd watch like Courage the Cowardly Dog or like Pop-Up Girls and all of these animations for Cartoon Network, and it just made me fascinated about the medium. At the time, I didn't know you can do it for a living, but it was always at the back of my mind that this is definitely something I want to do. So in high school, as I got introduced to anime, to manga, and I'm like, oh shit, there's Naruto, there's Studio Ghibli animated movies, etc. And I'm like, okay, there's something here. So I need to figure out how I get myself in this industry. So then that sent me on a quest, just seeking out information, seeking out the kind of artists or people who can point me in the right direction. And then I figured out, like, through social media, I can actually follow the artists, the directors, the mangakas who are creating all of these things that inspire me. I can go on YouTube and watch interviews of these people, and they can kind of give me the blueprint as to what they did to attain success in their own path. And so that's what I kept following, and then I kept applying all of these nuggets of wisdom that I've gained from these people, and then I applied it to my journey. And
it's crazy because that's like the same thing that I did. It was like literally the same thing. Like watching like Rugrats, and then like watching like all Nickelodeon shows. And that's where I draw most of my art style from, is the shapes that they use back in like the old traditional American like animation. Is like the shape language was really good, but the movement of anime was a whole nother level. Like I remember watching the first anime I've ever watched was it was Ninja Scroll. It was like, and it was even old then. Like when I was a kid, it was even old then. So I watched the animation and I was like, "Yo, this is nothing like American animation. Like this animation's so fluid, it's so like realistic, and it's different. But I always still love the shapes of like American animation and how they did it, and I'm pretty sure they outsource because they do that with everything. So I'm pretty sure somebody's outsourcing something. What inspires you the most about art? Is it the line work? Is it the coloring? Which is your favorite part? Because I know I hate flats. I hate flatting my work. I hate flatting. I hate it. Like, I love art, but flatting, good God, I hate it. I don't like it.
I would have to agree with you on the flatting side.
I can't stand it, man. It's the most tedious part.
And it's funny, like, talking about AI, right? I was telling my best friend, like, You know what? I wish someone would create an AI that just helps you to flat your work. So that you don't rather than
That'd be
focusing
so
on
helpful.
AI. Yeah, rather than focusing on AI that creates art, just
That
focus
would
on
be
AI
so
that does
helpful.
like, the parts of the work that we don't necessarily
Yeah. Oh
like.
man.
But
Animators would love that. Like animate, just
bro,
input your color palette, and it literally drops the color.
boom.
Like you just boom, and it's right there. That's the dude. You should patent that. Patent that idea right now
Nah,
before somebody comes out with that, because that is an incredible idea. Like you just
yeah,
paint your drawing once, and the AI goes through all the sequences of
boom.
drawings and just
It
flats
gives
all of
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Oh
be
man,
really sick. I'm sure.
that'd
I'm
be
sure someone is
lovely.
working on the idea. Yeah. To go back to your question, answering your question about what I like most about art, I think the thing I like most about art is definitely, I say the line work. I find really good line work inspiring, and so it's like most of the artists I love to follow or to look at their work. Like they are really masterful draftsmen. When it comes to their line work is always on point, and so that's something I aspire to get better at in my own work, making sure that like my line work is there, and definitely, of course, like color and lighting would be like a second, like will come in as a close second, because like very good color, very good lighting. That is something I also find very appealing.
I remember one of the guys I interned for. His name is Dane. Probably one of the most influential people in my life that like helped me with my art journey. And he was just telling me, man, you got to get into coloring. Stop just doing the lines. You got to get into coloring. And I was like, I don't want to color. Like I don't want to color anything. He's like, you have to. Like it's a part of the game. Like you have to do it. So for a while, I didn't like coloring. For a while, I was just like, man, I just want to do the line work. I want to be like Alvin Lee and just do line work. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he was like, nah, you got to get ahead of the game and do the coloring. So I started slowly etching in to coloring, and I would have to say that lighting and giving the art a mood and a feeling, because the lighting can invoke that, and you can like break the rules and add several different lights in it and stuff like that as you get into that.
For sure.
But yeah, that would have to be like those two, line work and just making the art pop. I love adding highlights at the end. I love doing that. It's just
don't
like,
we all?
Yeah, I just love doing it. It just makes it really great. So like I know that as we go through our art journeys, we get in moments where we're just like, good God, why isn't this working? And you have your challenging days of where you're trying to get a pose and it just doesn't work for you. Because I know I go through that a lot, like on a character. And for some odd reason, it's just not looking good, or I'm not finding the references. How do you contend with that? Like, how do you get around those things? Do you just study more, or do you just like what key methods do you use?
So like for me, when it comes to that, the challenges is it's normal. It's a part of any journey, or it's even a part of life. Like there will be the ups and downs, the good moments and the bad. What I do to try and combat that is having a mindset of being an eternal student. So there are times where you will meet a challenge and you have no idea about it. So then you have to go and now seek out information. But there are other times where you do come into contact with different kinds of information that you could pick up on and study more and become interested in, which helps you later down the path. So I always try to learn something, a little bit of something every day. It doesn't have to be a huge bit, but like if you keep picking up on new information, new techniques, new ways of approaching your art, new ways of looking at color and light, you study other artists, you study the greats, the masters, you look at your fundamentals, etc. Go back to your anatomy book, you practice, you're doing your gesture drawings or your live drawing. You also study out in the wild when you go to a coffee shop or you're sitting in the bus or on the train. You're sketching the people that you see around you, you're sketching your environment. You are putting yourself in a constant state of learning and absorption. of the information and the material that you find out there in the world, so that when you come to a piece that you're working on or a project that you are on, it makes it easier for you to find solutions or figure things out, because you are always in that state. And even if you don't have the information, it's easy for you to go out there and find the information that will help you overcome that visual problem that you're having and solve it. So I feel like just adopting that state of mind of being a student day in and day out and learning as much as you can, that will always help you to overcome. And of course, you need to figure a way out to make the process of learning and drawing enjoyable for you. Have fun with it. Find ways to make it fun for you. However, like some people draw and they make sound effects, and it makes it it makes it fun for them.
I'm guilty of that. My wife will walk by and I'm making noises like, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, some people are drawing, listening to music that they really love, etc. So just figure out how to make it fun for you. That way, it keeps your interest level high, and you're always excited to go back to your schedule, to go to your drawing tablet or your iPad and just pick up your pencil or your stylus and start creating something. A third way to help overcome that when it comes to facing challenges, fall back on your network. There are artists who are very good or specialize in specific areas of the industry. So you can go to them like, "Hey, I'm working on this composition. I know you're good with comics. What do you think? Take a look at this." Or, I feel like the colors in this scene are working right. You send it to your friend who's good with backgrounds and color and lighting. Like, "Hey, could you give me a draw over, a paint over? Let me know where I can improve," and so on and so forth. And relying on those people who also have experience, who are your contemporaries, people to your left and to your right, they will give you ideas, knowledge, help you to elevate your work. And that's something that I personally, because it was that mentality of like, "Oh, I need to get this thing on my own. I need to do it by myself. I need to be an artist on my own." But it's like, no, you don't always have to do everything by yourself. You have people around you who are even more knowledgeable about certain things that you can fall back on.
I don't know where it comes from, but you get this question in the back of your mind, like, if I draw over somebody's work just to understand their decisive thinking and anatomy, or decisive thinking as to why they did the composition the way that they did, in the back of your mind you're going, is that cheating? Is that like cheating? And in your mind you got to go, no, it's learning. Like you're just learning. Don't post it as your own work. Just understand why they did what they did, and you'll start to discover like, oh, that's how because hands are like the bane of an artist's existence. You're either good at them or you're just not. Like it's just hands are very intricate things, and turning them in three-dimensional space is a pain sometimes. I find that when I do go over like people's work, and I look at like people like Ethan Becker, and they're like, no, go in there, take their art and draw over it. Do that, because it's going to help you a lot. It's just going to give you a baseline as to what to do and what not to do, because you don't want to form bad habits at an early part of your art career. You just don't, because then you have to unlearn all the things that you learned.
It's funny, in the art circles, it's like, and I also have that same way of thinking, where it's like, oh, I'm cheating because I'm trying to break down someone else's techniques to understand what they are doing, or I'm doing certain things they are doing in their own work. And over time you realize, as I study more and I understand the world more, I realize like, if you even look at other industries, right, not just art, you look at the sporting industry, for example, basketball. There are people who look at techniques of the greats like Jordan, like how does he do certain dribble techniques, etc. And they do it, they copy the dribble technique and they use it. Yep. And other people go on to add their own spin to those different techniques that they picked from the greats. And so even in those industries, it's not copying. You can look at what someone is doing well, absorb it, and then add your own unique perspective or take to it, which would make it your own, even though you still learn from that person. Another example is recently I was listening to Bruce Lee, and he got to the point, studying martial arts, he got to the point where he realized it's not necessarily about the Japanese way of fighting or the Chinese way of fighting and so on and so forth. It's about taking from the different techniques or ways the best and strongest concepts, bringing them together, adding your perspective, and creating something that is compatible with you and who you are. And that's how he was able to form Jeet Kune Do. And Jeet Kune Do is what informs mixed martial arts today. When we look at the UFC, they are taken from different styles, from judo, etc., and taekwondo, kickboxing, Wing Chun, and they are bringing it together. And with Bruce's philosophy, it's like when you master the way of no way, which means you are not in allegiance to any one specific technique. You take from comic artists when you need to. You take from animators when you need to. You take from traditional painters, sculptors, etc. whenever you need to. And you bring it into your work. And your work is much more richer, it's fuller. It revivifies your work and makes your work stronger than someone who is just sticking to that one thing or that one discipline.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring up Bruce Lee because I literally have a picture of Bruce Lee right and it says, empty your mind and be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup.
It becomes the cup.
Yeah. I literally have him right. Just as a reminder every single day. I know you can get tunnel vision sometimes as an artist and you're only looking at art one way. And that could be very detrimental to the flexibility. I follow this artist named Scotty Young, and he literally, like, it's a quote he said, and I don't even think he meant it to be a quotable, but I took it to heart. He goes, if it doesn't work, erase it. Like, and I took that to, it's so simple, but I know we as artists get married to our work. Like, there's sometimes I'll delete a whole page because it feels like that page is like tainted now. Like I'll open up a new file and start a new file because that whole thing that I was trying to work out here just didn't work. Let me open a new file. And
it's interesting you mentioned that because it's like even like with Bruce Lee, right? And like when you look at the teachings of Buddhism, they talk about the concept of letting go or detachment. When you become too attached to things, to concepts, it's like it holds you back from fully actualizing your potential. And it's the same with art, like you mentioned. Like sometimes the thing you did, even though you spent a lot of hours, it's not serving the story or it's not serving what you're trying to communicate visually. So you need to scrap it. It doesn't mean that you wasted the time. It just means that you figured out what does not work for what you're trying to do so that you can go to the thing that actually does work. And it's also very important as artists getting to that point where you can be detached from the work so that you create what serves your message rather than being like, oh man, I spent like a whole day on this piece, like it has to work, you know. Or sometimes you could stop working on the piece because you feel like it's not working, come back to it later and realize like, oh, it was actually exactly what you needed. Or you can come back to it later with more refined skills and figure out exactly what you needed to do to tweak it to get it to where you want it to be. So yeah,
that's something I do with my work. I'll do the whole year of just art, and then after that year has passed, I'll go and find some old work that I did at the beginning of the year, and I'll draw over it to see what I would do different. And when I draw over it, I start to notice, okay, you don't do this no more. You don't do that no more. Your mind is a little different when it comes to your approach on these particular things. and I feel like that just gives you a sense of like I grew, like because sometimes we don't notice that we're growing as artists because it would just be year after year of just grinding and you're just trying to figure it out. But ultimately, like when you do stop and look at your old stuff and look at the stuff that you used to do, you go, oh, I grew stylistically. I grew color wise. My color palette was very medium back then. Now it's more, I'm not just working in gray tones or grayscale. I'm working in like brighter colors and using more vibrant colors and taking a little more risk with the artwork. Another question I had is, what do you think about time as an artist? Does it matter to you how long you spend on a piece, or does it not matter to you in terms of like I know some artists will throw up masterpieces on their Instagram and be like, I did this in 5 minutes, and it's like no you didn't, you're lying. You're a straight line, but okay. like I understand. But for the most part, does that play a factor? Like while you're working, do you think about time at all, or?
I mean, it's two things. Good things or good work takes time. It's a paradox. Good work takes time, but at the same time, sometimes good work doesn't take time. It depends on what is needed in the context. So, for example, there are certain times where I'll do a quick sketch, and because of me not taking my time and trying to be deliberate about every single stroke and try and make everything look perfect, me going quickly, or the result that comes out looks very good. There'll be other times where I need to create a more rendered piece, and I need to make sure the lighting is on point, the way I do my shadows, my values, that I render the textures, etc. That piece, I need to take my time to get the result that I want, because it needs to be rendered. And you can't render a highly detailed piece in 5 minutes. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you move at the speed of Flash. But if you don't, and you're like a regular human being like you and I, then you need to maybe spend a week, spend a month. I've seen people spend months on one piece just to make sure that everything comes together well. But at the same time too, it's like, it depends on the kind of artist that you want to be. Because there are certain artists who, with each piece, they have to spend hours, weeks, before the piece is finished. And that is as a result of their process. Other artists, the nature of their process, they're like, go, 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 go. They need to like keep going, moving at a steady pace. They can't spend too much time on any one given piece. So then you have to understand yourself as an artist, your context, and then you will know whether or not you would go about it time-wise. But at the same time, as artists, we have to understand you are not going to live forever. Your time here is limited. So you need to figure out a way to manage your time so that you can get out as much of your ideas that you have to bring into the world. Or else if you spend your whole lifetime working on just one piece, then all the other pieces that you had to offer, they are all lost in the ether. So yeah, it's a balance. That's how I look at it.
So I'm glad you said it's a balance, because I had this question lined up right after. It fits perfectly. So work-life balance. How do you keep your personal life in tandem with your art life? Because I know art, like you said, it takes time. And sometimes that time, if you're doing it as a freelancer or you're doing it full time, it can take away from your family life. Like me, I'm a dad, so like pushing my kid on the swings, taking him to school, and all that good stuff. That takes a lot of time as well.
Exactly.
How do you manage that as an artist?
I think for me, one way I look at it, I was listening to Chris Doe, and he was talking about how there's nothing like work-life balance, because it's like a seesaw. when you put more weight on one side and it goes down, the other side goes up, and vice versa. So you'll never have a point where everything is evenly balanced. If you do more of one thing, the other thing suffers. So he was suggesting work-life integration. Find ways to integrate both your work and your life. So, for example, an idea that popped up in my mind is like, I like to draw. If right now I don't have a kid, if I were to have a kid and I want to spend time with my kid, I'll find a way where it's like, oh, like, you know, I give you a piece of paper, draw with me. So he's sketching with me, and I'm drawing. I'm spending time with him.
Yeah.
But we are still getting to do the thing that I love to do. See, to a certain extent.
That's a great take. Yeah.
Or like, for example, it's like I want to find like reference or something. I could go out with the kid and we could be taking photographs and like, oh, I'm like filming the animals at the zoo, like, and then he's also helping me film it, and I'm like, and you're spending time with the kid, but you're at the same time you're gathering reference for your project, but you're creating memories with the kid. So it's when he said it that way, I was like, yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. Finding ways to integrate your work and your passion, because like the way I see art, in as much as it's work, I really see it as more like a passion. I don't see it because like there are people who see their work as work, right? And they can't wait to get away from it. But I am of the I'm of the opinion, like, I really
That's rough. That is rough.
I really love to do art. Like, art is a huge part of me, who I am. So I'm always trying to find ways to do more of it. So for me, if it will work, I need to find ways to incorporate my normal life with my passion, which is art.
Yeah, like because and when you do have a kid, they're gonna want to do everything you do. My son wants to do everything I do. Like, he's an artist himself. He's like, I'm an artist like you, and he's like really passionate about like drawing, but he's also passionate about football. So I know I don't think he's gonna go the art direction. I think he's gonna go like the football, because he loves his jerseys. Yeah, like so. So I'm like, yeah, you like art now, but then when you start to figure out what we actually do, you're gonna be like, oh god, no, it's not. I mean, something that's interesting.
Unless it's his thing, then he would. Yeah. Because like, over time, when you figure, as you test out different things, you realize what thing is for you. Because it's the idea of picking your difficult. There's no easy path. Someone will look at artists and be like, oh man, you guys have it easy. You just get to draw all day. No, it's not easy. So everyone needs to pick their difficult. There will be something that you have to do that will be difficult in life. So you have to make sure that difficult thing you're picking is something that you're highly invested in, that you really want to do in the foreseeable future. And over time, I'm sure as he tests out different things, the sports, the art, etc., you figure out the thing that he's ready and willing to see through into the future. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I wanted to be an animator, and I learned what they have to go through. It's not for me. Hats off to you guys. You guys are the special ones, man. You guys are the special guys.
But you know the funny thing is that because they face the strongest battles, they get very strong, very fast.
Oh yeah.
And that was something I realized over time. Like, it got to a point, because I was similar in that sense, where I wanted to be a mangaka. When I discovered manga, I realized what they go through. I was like, I wanted to be a 2D animator because I love Sakuga, like the cool fight scenes. I started to animate. I was like, wow, no.
My wife's like, why are you guys so fixated on Kim Jong-gi's work? I'm like, you do understand that he can draw anything from any angle from his head.
If you get the foundation of anything thoroughly, creating complex things is much easier because you understand how things work at the fundamental level. And that's usually the issue that most artists overlook, especially like beginner artists or artists who are still trying to figure things out for themselves, is the fundamentals, the foundation of the field. If you don't understand, like, perspective, anatomy, gesture, etc., color and light, those things, it's difficult for you to create the kind of work that you want to create. And with those kind of artists that you mentioned, like the Kin, the Peter Hans, Yoshimichi Kameda, and all of these great creators, because they are solving problems, like the hard problems, like you are trying to animate someone kicking in the air. You need to break that down into the simplest forms or the simplest concept where you understand, okay, so if I break down the body into cubes and this person is going to do a spinning kick, how will the body look and the limbs look from all of these different angles as it's rotating in motion. And once you're able to break it down at that simple level, then now putting on like the details, like the hair, the fingers, the skin, the bones, etc., the clothing, it becomes easier. And because they do these things over and over again and solve these problems by using the understanding of the fundamentals, it deeply embeds the fundamental principles into their subconscious mind to the point where they don't need to be consciously thinking about those decisions. And then that's when it starts to look like magic. And you're like, whoa, how are you doing that?
Yeah, even though I know how that process works, I'm awed every single time I see it work. Every time I see an anime where they're doing like some impossible fighting scene, I'm just like, good Lord, the time it took for them to get that sequence. I'm fascinated with smears in animation. So like the in-between frames where it's not even a character anymore, it's just like a punch and it's like a smear. And the way that they smear it through the in-betweens of their animation gives it that impact. So it makes it look like, whoa, like it's actually connecting, and it's like I'm rewatching Hunter x Hunter, and the fight scenes in some of the like Killua's fight scenes, and it's just crazy. When I was growing up, Takeshi Koike was the guy. Like that was the person I really fixated on. And my favorite director was my favorite anime at the time was a movie, but it's not really an anime. It was Tokyo Godfathers by Satoshi Kon. And he by far was my favorite director. This anime that every time I bring it up, most people don't know it. It's called Paranoia Agent.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and the anime, if you ever get the chance, watch this animation and see the impact of all the like just facial expressions, the impact of how this team did this animation. I believe it was Studio 3 Degrees C that did the animation.
Okay.
But the way that they do animation is like, it's just awe-inspiring. I just know that like getting into that field, I don't even know if I have the will to be an animator. I tried animation and I was like, good God, it takes a certain type of person to continue years of this. You have to have the right mind.
Yeah, you do. And it kind of really forces you to understand like drawing, because you see, when you're animating, you can't hide. If you don't understand the fundamentals, it will show perfectly. If you don't understand proportions, you don't understand.
It's so true.
It will reveal you. And I animate.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I animate. How do you call it? Intermittent, like from time to time. Now this year, I'm taking it very seriously, moving forward. But like, I would dabble in the past and like it would just reveal to me like, yo, you don't know shit, you don't know anything. Like you need to go run back to the drawing board and like get your stuff right. And once I understood that, like, and I would look at like the drawings from some of my favorite animators and how they would draw like their key animation, and I'm looking at the drawings and like the level of precision, understanding of shapes, understanding of appeal, posing, dynamism, like just with one stroke, the way they would describe like a form or a pose and simplify it. And I'm like, yep, this person is a master. And they've gone the hard route to be able to get to that level of mastery. So then I figured out, like I discovered that there are people who in Japan, they want to become a mangaka, but they would go the animation route to strengthen their draftsmanship skills to that high point, and then they'll come back to become the mangaka that they wanted to be. Because like you're drawing so much, like you can't help but get good at it. You can't help but get good at it, and then they come back and then they do their
30
comics.
seconds, like 1,000 frames or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know each second is 24 frames. That's the normal animation frame rate. So 30 seconds, that'll be 24 times 30, and that'll probably be a very big number.
I think it's like 1,000 frames is 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 720. Wait, no, it can't be 720. Maybe okay, that's why I didn't do. I'm not good. I'm not good at math.
Let me try this out.
We'll leave the math to the mathematicians.
Yeah. Oh, you and me both, man. I'm not really good at it. This is why I'm an artist and not a mathematician.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said 24 frames.
4 frames per second.
A second. So you times 24 by 30. That's 720 frames. So 30 seconds is 720 frames. So you're drawing
720 drawings
per 30 seconds.
For just one 30 seconds.
Half a minute.
30 seconds.
That's wild. And they do full-length feature films that last like 2 hours. Like that's crazy. That's like crazy. Like the amount of drawing that goes into that, you have to get good.
The workload is so crazy. Like I understand why animators are like some of the best draftsmen that you ever see out there. Like their drawing skills, bro, it's on a different level. Totally different level.
Yeah, because like illustration, in illustration and character design, we can
massage it. Yeah. You can massage it. You can hide. That's what I'm saying. You can hide behind the lighting, the colors.
We can make some decisions that
you can even hide the hands. You can put the hand in his
pockets.
Or put the hand in, but if he's throwing a punch, you can't hide the hand. You can't put it in a pocket. They should make an anime.
They should make an anime with bad hands. Like the whole anime. The whole anime, everybody has bad hands. Like it's drawn. Like the anime is drawn beautifully, but the hands are trash.
Hands are bad, that'd be funny.
That would be funny, yeah. The last question, I'm not gonna hold you too long, man. I know you got to get your day started. But the last question I have is, what advice would you give the younger version of yourself as an artist?
1, start early. 2, find a mentor. 3, become a part of a community. 4, get the fundamentals down. Like you need to once you find that mentor, that he or she is a person who would direct you to get those fundamentals, the books, the tutorials, what have you, or they would even teach you exactly what you need to know. And then draw as much as you can. Like the more you draw, the better you get at it. So you find ways to draw. If you are waiting, like just it kind of like I like the way Kim Gage puts it. He says that for him, drawing is like breathing. He doesn't need to think about it. So because he's drawing so much, he's getting in so much mileage. Now him coming up with new characters, posing them, putting them in scenes, it's just natural to him. He doesn't need to rack his brains. And of course, there'll be times where you need reference, but he needs a reference less and less. And the final thing would definitely be have fun doing it. Find ways to make it fun for you. Because if this thing is not fun for you, you'll give up because it's hard.
Yeah.
There'll be times where you'll be disappointed. There'll be times where you might not get the gig you wanted. There'll be times where you feel like you suck as a creative or as an artist. So you need to find ways to make it fun for you and exciting. And that's what I would tell my younger self. Those things.
That's like amazing advice. It's just amazing advice. I remember as a kid watching Bob Ross, and he said, talent is the will to continue. It's the will to continue to do what you do. Like when people say talent doesn't exist, I go, talent does exist. It's us every day getting down and sitting down at this computer or this sketchbook and working it out. It's literally that's your talent. Your talent is the will to continue to do whatever you do. And in the betterment of that talent is just skill. And that's what you get through the work, through the will to continue. Because sometimes I have bad art days, and those art days are like, man, I can't draw nothing. Like, did God take away my powers? Like, am I being punished? So it's just, it's just one of those things. I agree.
Similarly to what you're saying, right? Even on the days you have bad art days, you can always come back and refine. Just because you had a bad art day does not mean you've created some raw material that you can come back and mold to your own specification. So even with that, it doesn't matter if you have bad art days, because once you're creating the raw material that you need to make your projects, make your characters, video game, what have you. So you should never feel bad about it. And if you have, it's ups and downs. It's a part of it. If you can't appreciate the up moments, if you don't have any down moments, if it's always just up, you get used to it. And then it gets boring. You're like, oh, I'm just winning every day. This is boring. When you have some down days and you get that win, you're like, yo, today I'm killing it, man. So,
you bring your wife in the room and be like, yo, you see this line? You see this line? Oh, this is my win. This is my W right now. That line, that like curvature, that line. I only had to do it one stroke. Yeah, that's that sauce right there, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, man. I appreciate you spending the time to talk to me and graciously accepting this interview. I'm really trying to like reach out to other artists, get their perspective on art, because I saw it at one point a lot, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to see the process. And then less and less, I started seeing artists actually talk to other artists and get their take on their experience. And that ball just stopped. And I was like, why are we not seeing this anymore as artists? It just seems like everybody's faces are down in their work, and that's it. Like, that's all that's going on. So I'm like, nah, I gotta reach out and show that there is actual community and there is actual other artists out there willing to talk about their journey and their experience. And I was like, if I have to do it, then let's go. You know what I mean? Because I love this thing we call art, and I love being an artist. As you can say, I got hats printed with my name on it. I love art, man.
Yes, sir.
I love art. I'm a nerd for it. It's just what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a piece of me. So it's great to see another person just as passionate as I am about it, and it shows in your work, man. It really does. When I see the lines that you create and the work that you do, it shows. Like, I'm like, yo, this is vibrant. It pops. It's great.
Appreciate it.
It's just great stuff, and it's always a pleasure to see. Especially, I saw the animation you did too, where the dude was flying through the air. I was like, yo, he got something there, man. I was like, yo, and then I was like, yo, like, because when I saw it, and then you did the fisheye thing, and like, I think, was it Spider-Man that would like lean into the camera? I was like, yo,
it's mouse. It was mouse waving, but it was very rough.
Yeah, dude. But when I saw it, I understood it like immediately, and that's what I like look at with art. My wife's like, "How can you tell?" I'm like, "Dude, it's for some odd reason when you look at art and you've done it for a while, you can see the confidence in it. You can see it's like the mood that's left behind. Like I look at I don't know if you know Rocket Boy, his work.
Bro, that's my best friend laughs at me all the time. I keep telling her, like, yo, that guy, like, basically has the kind of career that I aspire towards. Because, like, his animations, I want to meet that dude designs, in real life, like, the guy, he does, like, tricking, he's into martial arts, like, that
he
guy
actually
like,
does what he animates.
So dope.
Yeah,
exactly.
He does what he animates. I'm like, when I saw him do that, like, spin kick, I was like, what? Like you do this in real life?
Yeah, he's a ninja in real life.
Yeah, like he's a warrior in real life.
Yeah, that guy's dope.
Yeah, like when I saw his work, I was like, dude, like he's like a one-man animating team, dude. Like he could do his own anime. Like it's crazy. I'm sure it'll take
exactly that. Like he's someone who, like, if he were like, I wish like he just gets the funding and the right team behind him.
Give this
whatever he would put out there.
I trust what he does.
It would marvel the whole world.
Yeah, just down to his character designs. I'm like, give him money. Like, just throw a bag at that man and watch people just like they're gonna want more of that. Like the character designs.
Of course.
The character designs, Kung Fu is Dead, I think it's called.
Yeah,
that he has on there with the tiger. Dude, come on, man! Like
it's crazy.
It's just good. It's just like insanely.
It's
good.
amazing.
Another dude is like Saint Chase. Like he's just good.
Yeah. Oh, Chase Conley,
bro. Good, man. Crazy. It's just like good. God, you're like you understand something that I'm trying to understand. like so, yeah, man. But yeah, I won't hold you too long. You be on here a million years talking about art. But yeah, man, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing more of your work, and hopefully down the line we can get together again and talk about art again, man. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. You're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up.
I appreciate it, man. I just want to like build a bigger community and have everybody together smiling. No art hierarchy or whatever. Like I worked on Disney and you're at your mom's house. Like you know what I mean? I want everybody to come together in harmony and be like, yo, like each one teach one and just be like, yo, we're all in this art thing together. I appreciate your time and I look forward to posting this and sharing this with everybody else.
Sure. Thank you, man. Have a lovely day.
All right, man. You have a great day, man. You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, man.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.